The NFL Draft is almost here. Welcome into this edition of Seattle Seahawks Today, powered by Chat Sports. Tyler Jones, your fearless leader, here with you. We are so excited about the draft coming up on Thursday night, and I wanted to take a moment to answer your final questions before the draft starts. I got a lot out there that you guys are very curious about when it comes to this draft, as well as everything else going on with this team, with potential trades and free agency moves and all of that. So we'll answer all your questions on today's show starting right now. Let's begin with this $2 super chat from Ray the Savage, who writes in, how do we like Ewers or Howard in the third round? So I don't mind the idea of drafting either Ewers or Howard. However, I think I would mind the idea of drafting either one in the third round. I think that you have more pressing needs that you should be taking care of in the first three rounds than a backup quarterback. Remember that, folks, that John Schneider tells us he wants to draft quarterback. But you already have what you believe is your franchise guy in Sam Darnold right now. So you're not looking to draft your starter for this season. Maybe there's your starter down the line. So with that said, if you want a quarterback, you can wait a bit. I think guys like Ewers, Howard, McCord, Gabriel, I mean, that tier of quarterbacks, there should be a decent number of them still around if Seattle wants a quarterback there in rounds 4 through 7. So I would wait. I want to take one in the third, but we'll see. Folks, we mentioned we're going to be live for the NFL Draft coming up on Thursday through Saturday. And I want to make sure not only you're subscribed, but you have your notifications turned on, that you're part of the Noti gang. That way you're the first to know when we go live for our NFL Draft coverage, along with our daily news and rumors. We're going to have reaction to every single pick with videos on the channel. This is going to be the place to be, my friends. If you love the Seattle Seahawks, you need to be subscribed. Subscribe now for free, youtube.com/SeahawksTV. Turn on notifications. Join the Noti gang. That way you never miss a moment. Stay locked in. If you're part of the Noti gang, spam Noti gang in the comments section, and we'll continue here with today's show. Hawks for Life writes in, what are the chances the Seahawks draft Tetairoa McMillan? So, I think going into Thursday, based on the intel that we've received, and some people aren't going to like hearing this, but we're here to tell you what you need to hear, not what you want to hear. And I know a lot of you have been beating the drum. Offensive line, offensive line, offensive line. I understand that. But from all we have heard, Tetairoa McMillan sounds like he's the number one player on John Schneider's draft board. At the time of this recording, on Monday, I believe that if Tetairoa McMillan is available at 18, and that's still if, there's a pretty good chance, actually, he's gone by then. But if he is, I think Seattle will take him at 18. And the thing that I would say for all the naysayers out there that don't like the idea of drafting a receiver, believe me, I hear you. I hear you loud and clear. Tetairoa McMillan is one of two players in this draft that is a can't-miss prospect. He and Tyler Warren, I would bet the farm on that they're going to be successful. Tetairoa McMillan, at the very least, is going to be a very good receiver. At his best, he is going to be a great receiver in this league. And with the additions you've made with Cooper Kupp and MVS and bringing back JSN, you do not have anybody to fill that DK Metcalf role. Tetairoa McMillan would fill that DK Metcalf role. So I think the chances right now are very high that he ends up getting picked to Seattle at 18. Should the Seahawks draft Tetairoa McMillan? It's our pinned comment today. You're on the clock. You got two options. Type D for draft, P for pass. Chime in the comments section. Let us know if they should draft McMillan or not. Today's show is sponsored by Game Time. Game Time is the place to go for the best seats, the lowest prices guaranteed. I had the chance to take the fam out to an NBA game recently, and it was great because we got tickets on short notice, and Game Time's the best way to get those last-minute seats you're looking for. And if you have the low price tickets enabled, you can invest more in buying food, drinks, merchandise, and more easily get a larger group to come with you to the events that you're looking to go to. You choose the event, like maybe it's a Mariners game, for example, or other events in the Seattle area. You got the prices listed, you choose your seat, and then boom, just like that, you're checking out on Apple Pay, Google Pay, Venmo, all major credit card providers. And Game Time is the official ticketing partner of Seattle Seahawks today, where you can take advantage of their last-minute deals. You can save up to 60% off buying last minute for sports, concerts, comedy shows, theater productions, and more. Game Time Picks makes last-minute ticket buying easier than ever by quickly highlighting the best deals in the stadium. They have their zone deals where you can save even more when you choose the section and let Game Time choose the seats. They have their all-in pricing. Toggling this feature shows the total up front with no surprise fees at checkout. They have their seat views where you can get a panoramic view from your seat in the app before you buy. The lowest price is guaranteed, or Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. Your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code JATSPORTS, $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code CHATSPORTS for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last-minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed. The link is in the comments and the description of today's video. Game Time, proud partner of Seattle Seahawks today. Glad to have them on board here on today's show. Jefferton, all right again. Tyler, who would you choose at 18 between Grant, Golden, Banks, or Imanwari? Man, of those options. Ooh, I'm a big fan of Kelvin Banks personally. It's not up to me. But if there's a player that I would take for Seattle at 18, if I'm the one that gets to hand in the card, based on how I think the board is going to shake out, Kelvin Banks would be my pick. And that's not a knock on those other three players. But offensive line is the biggest need. Banks has potential to be a star in this league. He fills a need immediately. He can slide into the guard spot. And then whether you bring back Abraham Lucas or not, he could potentially move to tackle if you need. He was arguably the best lineman in all of college football this past season. I would go with Kelvin Banks. Will they? Probably not. They've been kind of quiet about Kelvin Banks the last month or so. Those murmurings about Kelvin Banks have kind of shifted away at this point. But Kelvin Banks would be the name that would interest me there of those that you give me the choice of. Loyal Hawks fan writes in, could the Seahawks trade down and still get an offensive lineman? I have a scenario for you. Hear me out on this. So Adam Schefter, earlier this week, he was talking about that Seattle is very interested in trading down from the 18th overall pick and could slide to like 24 or 25. And the idea would be, okay, if Tetairoa McMillan is gone, who seems like he's John Schneider's favorite player, then you go back to the drawing board of offensive linemen. And your next up at that point is probably Grey Zabel. And based on how these mock drafts and the fillers that are out there, if Seattle doesn't take him at 18, he probably will still be around a few picks later. So then you could take Zabel potentially at, let's say, 24, 25, and pocket a third-round pick for later in the draft. That's an intriguing scenario here. And then on top of that, too, you get that extra third-round pick, and all of a sudden, you're looking at an opportunity to have 6 picks in the top 92, including Zabel in that mix. That, if you're going to go with Zabel, makes a ton more sense to do than to take him at 18, potentially reach a little bit, and not get the extra draft pick for him. I like Zabel. I really do. His grades were phenomenal across the board, but he's not a sure thing. We don't even know what position he's going to be. Is he a tackle? Is he a guard? Is he a center? You'll find a spot for him, but it's a big move up to go from the FCS to the NFL. I think there's a lot to like, but there's a great unknown, and I think you'd be feeling better about that if you were able to pick up an extra third-round pick along the way. Should the Seahawks draft Grey Zabel? You got two options here. Your chance to be the GM here on Seahawks Today. Type Y for yes, in for no. What do you think? Should Seattle draft Zabel or not? Chime in. Next question. Josh writes in. Would you rather trade for TJ Watt or Tyreek Hill? Ooh. That's a great question. I love both players, and I'd be glad to have either one on my team. But to me, this comes down to dollars. In the great words of one of my favorite guys, Mark Mangino, dollar signs. Tyreek Hill is a lot easier to trade for than TJ Watt. TJ Watt, you're going to have to give up a lot of picks. You have to pay him a ton of money. Tyreek Hill goes into next year with a base salary of just $10 million, and he has no guaranteed money beyond this season, and I probably only have to give up a third-round pick. So all things are not created equal here. I have to look at each individual scenario, and I think Tyreek Hill makes much more sense financially, and I'm not hurting my draft in the process as well. I think I lean towards Tyreek Hill if you give me the choice there. Last question comes from Rilo. Rilo DeMac Music writes in. What's more important, a blue chip player or an offensive lineman? That's a very good question. And I think that it just depends, really. I mean, because are we saying blue chip at any position, or are we saying blue chip at a specific position? Because I think John Schneider's asking himself if it's a wide receiver like Tetairoa McMillan, a blue chip player, then that would be more important to him than an offensive lineman. If it's a blue chip player at another position that's not of a big need, remember, wide receiver is still a need here, then maybe you go the offensive lineman. But that's a very good question. I think it all just depends on who it is and who's available. And then also, what are the opportunities potentially to trade down? Can you still get quality offensive linemen if you don't take them at 18? And, you know, who exactly is the blue chip player? It's tough to give you a perfect answer without knowing the players you're talking about and what positions they are. But, yeah, that's the way I would put it. It depends on the individual and then what the needs are. But, yeah, I think you're on to something. Like, I think I'll wrap up with this. I think there's three players that if they somehow fall into your lap at 18, you can't say no to. And that is Tetairoa McMillan, Tyler Warren, Colston Loveland. Any of those three somehow fall into your lap at 18, Seattle's going to take them, and they're going to figure out the offensive line situation later. It may not be what you want to hear, but if that's how it falls, I don't think they have a choice. I think they have to take advantage of it and then figure out the offensive line situation from there. We'll see. Appreciate you joining us here this edition of Seattle Seahawks Today. For continuing Seahawks coverage, subscribe now for free, youtube.com/Seahawks TV. I'm Tyler Jones. Thanks for joining us. Draft will be here soon. We'll be all over it right here on the channel. We'll see you next time.